Good morning, John Adamson, the Rehab and Documentation Guru. It's been a little while. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Hope it was blessed. Hope you didn't eat too much. I did, and I felt sick for a couple days, actually. So, had a little bit too much Thanksgiving, but it was blessed. And as a parent of 12 children who are all at home, with one doing online college, and of course my wife, it was already a full house. In fact, we broke the restrictions on gatherings, but sue me because that's just the way we have to roll when we have so many kids. Anyway, I want to talk about a new study that's come out. There's no definitive numbers, let's put it that way, but there are estimates about this study. And that is the drastic, just astronomical increase in failure to thrive amongst nursing home residents because of coronavirus lockdowns. Back in June, I took a trip down to Texas to visit my father, who was then recovering from CHF in a skilled nursing facility. And we had to meet with him outside his window through a screen with the air conditioner right next to the screened window. And, we're both wearing a mask, even though we're well over 6 feet apart. And I'm outside anyway, in the bright sun. This is Texas in June, so it was hot. And we had to have a conversation that way. We were able to communicate, but it was pretty difficult. And then 3 weeks later, my dad died. And it still pains me. I didn't think I'd get emotional about this. That my last interaction with my dad did not include a hug. And that my dad, he did make it home to hospice. I had already come home. And he lasted for a week or two, roughly. But it still pains me that I couldn't give him a hug. And he almost died in isolation. Recently, I did a seating assessment for a hospice patient, which is something I do sometimes because it's part of my background. And I went into a nursing home where the resident was. For whatever reason, and I knew this therapy department, they weren't being contracted to do an assessment. And so hospice asked me to go in. And I made some recommendations, but when you walked into this facility, they put you through a 10-minute ordeal of just getting ready to walk in with PPE, and I had to wear an N95 plus a face shield. And that's how all the healthcare workers are interacting with the patients. And this patient had advanced dementia. Now, she did make eye contact, but it wasn't consistent. And I can only imagine in her waning days what it's like to experience people who don't really look like people. They look like nameless faces that are, donning hazmat suits to handle toxic waste, and they're in the midst of it. They just have to experience it. What is it like to be living like that? What is it like for, and I might get this wrong, but there are some estimates that failure to thrive may be in the 800% range of increase since coronavirus lockdowns. And they estimate that the deaths from failure to thrive may even overtake coronavirus deaths. That's staggering. And we already know that coronavirus has been overreported. One individual noted that he went in for 3 separate tests, positive tests, and all of them were reported as individual cases, even though he was one individual, same coronavirus infection, 3 separate infections. There's a uh, whistleblower for regarding a hospital. They're a family of a patient who went into a hospital and died from other than coronavirus. And the hospital asked the family if they could list on the death certificate coronavirus, and they offered to pay for the family's funeral expenses if they could. So that's going to be going to trial. We know that the death rate and the coronavirus case rate has been overreported. And then in some cases, it may have been underreported, but there's a lot of pressure from organizations to overreport. So it's driving this whole social isolation issue and this failure to thrive because everybody is fearful. Now, granted, things don't look good for nursing home residents when coronavirus comes into the nursing home. These people are already sick and they're in late stage of their life, and so we certainly don't want to see something kill them, but at the same time we're killing them more with socially isolating them, with preventing them from meeting with loved ones. Oh, I know they've had meetings outside windows. When you have dementia, especially towards mid-stage, your field of awareness diminishes. So focusing on somebody outside a window becomes much, much more difficult. That quality of interaction is vastly diminished. Not to mention the social isolation of people like the spouses of these loved ones that are in nursing homes. What about them? They can't visit their spouse who maybe they've been married to 40, 50, 60 plus years. What are they dying from? What about the grandkids and great-grandkids that don't get a chance to see their grandparents? And their memory of them is looking through a window with both of you wearing a mask. Oh yeah, we've got the plastic sheets that have arms, plastic arms that you can now hug through. I saw that at one nursing home. A plastic hug. At what cost are we continuing these close downs? No one can underestimate the value of proper mental health in the midst of this pandemic. And it's mental health that is going through the roof, mental health issues. You know, I might be wrong on that failure to thrive statistic because I just remembered where I got that 800% from. There's been over 800% increase in calls to suicide hotlines. That's where that came from. Over 800%. And of course, those are younger individuals, probably. They're probably not nursing home residents, but might be some. At what point? And now we're spreading this out. We're spreading it out by locking things down so that we're going to never get to a herd immunity, waiting for a vaccine that, you know, a portion of the population is not going to trust because they didn't like the administration under which it was developed. And we just wait. And we further isolate. And we further decrease revenues so that people are laid off. So there's reduced tax revenue. So nursing homes will struggle financially. So they reduce their total staffs so that patients are neglected further. It's a vicious cycle. Anyway, I've talked enough about this, and I'm talking about a real bummer of a situation, but I guess what I'm urging you to do is, as a therapist, we PTs especially don't do this as well as we should. OTs are more sensitive to it, and I think speech are too, is really pay attention to the psychosocial aspects of your patients, because those are going to have huge impact on the physical capabilities of them. And be there for them, because you may be the only friendly interaction they get. What are the CNAs actually doing in the nursing home? They've got so many patients. They're changing butts, bringing trays, and frankly, there's far too few quality CNAs out there. So they're not getting much love from those people. What about the nurses in nursing homes? Well, you got the LPNs who are basically pill pushers, and that's all they're doing all day is passing meds. And at their little carts going around to the different rooms, they're hardly interacting with the patient except to get them to down the medicine as quickly as possible so they can get on to the next patient. What about activities? Well, activities departments generally are reliant upon large gatherings, and that's not happening for the most part. I mean, some facilities have made social distancing gatherings a reality, but for the most part, activities even before COVID was not interacting enough with patients beyond mild dementia, because they get all the mild people together for reminiscence sessions and bingo and stuff like that. Occasionally they get people together for an audience style activity, such as somebody comes in and plays music. I don't even know if that's going on right now. So who are they left with that's going to truly interact with them? It's probably you. If you're giving any therapy to that individual, that may be the only interaction that they get all day long that might keep them from the brink of just cashing it all in because failure to thrive, because they've lost any contact with people. And even the most reclusive introvert person needs to have love shown to them by other people on a regular basis. So be as you can. Be as interactive with that patient for their psychosocial benefit, because social isolation from COVID lockdowns is going to be a far worse pandemic than what we've got going on right now with COVID. Anyway, on that bummer of a note, I hope you have a great day. Take care. God bless.